Do not mourn me, mother. It was a fair exchange. I may have lost an eye, but I gained a dragon.
Most people watched that scene and heard a wounded boy putting on a brave face. And honestly, most viewers were still processing what came before it. The knife, the blood on the sand, Alicent with a Valyrian steel dagger in her fist, demanding payment in flesh. Some say Driftmark is the night Aemond became the villain of this story. Some say it's the night Alicent finally broke. Some say it's the moment the Dance of the Dragons became unavoidable, and that the cause of the civil war was a single scar on a boy's face. They are all focusing on the wrong half of the night, because hours before Lucerys ever picked up that blade, a boy walked out of a castle in the dark and did the single most consequential thing anyone does in the entire first season of the series. And when the adults dragged the children into that hall afterwards, the king, the queen, the hand, the rogue prince, the sea snake, not one of them said out loud what had actually happened. Season 1, Episode 7, Driftmark, the night they buried Laena the Velaryon. Let me take you through it, because once you understand what Aemond really took that night, you cannot watch a single scene of this show the same way again. The Dragon Rule. We'll start with the rule that this world is founded on, because the show tells you in the first episode and then spends more than a decade of story building on it. Viserys says it to Rhaenyra while she's still a girl, and he says it as a warning.
The idea that we control the dragons is an illusion. They're a power man should never have trifled with.
Rhaenyra interprets this as a formula for success. Strip the dragons away, and House Targaryen is just another family, just as vulnerable as anyone else. And the histories support her. After all, 3 dragons took an entire continent. At the Field of Fire, Velaryons, Meraxes and Vhagar burned 4,000 men in a single afternoon and ended House Gardner forever. Which is why the most powerful people sit down to plan a war. They don't count soldiers. At the Black Council on Dragonstone, Rhaenyra's men are listing houses and knights and crossbowmen when Lord Bartimos Celtigar cuts through all of it. Talk of men, he says, is beside the point.
Dragonstone has 13 to their 4.
13 to their 4. That is the entire war expressed in one line. So, when Aemond has no dragon, he isn't just an unlucky child. He is a Targaryen prince with no real power, and everyone worth their salt knows it. The undermining of Aemond. Watch how carefully it's done. Lucerys, Rhaenyra's eldest, the boy who will inherit the Iron Throne if nothing changes, is being walked through the dragon pit with Vermax, learning to give commands. The Dragon Keepers note that Aegon has already mastered Sunfire, and standing off to the side, watching all of it, is Aemond.
You're the only one of us without a dragon.
The Pink Dread. Be sure to mount her carefully, Aegon warns. The first flight is always rough. They laugh, and they walk away and leave him standing there. Now, most people file that scene as a cruel prank and motive for a grudge, and it is all of that. But look at what the joke is actually about. They aren't mocking his face or his skill. They are taking the one thing that decides who rules the 7 kingdoms, and they are telling him that he does not have it and never will. That same night, Aemond doesn't go to bed. He goes down, alone, into the dark caverns beneath the dragon pit where the unclaimed dragons nest, and wanders so far in that a fully grown dragon nearly burns him alive. He comes back up, covered in ash, and when the Kingsguard drag him in front of his mother and sister, Helaena barely looks up from her insects.
He did it again.
He did it again. And what does the adult in the room do with that information? Alicent scolds him. Again, she tells him his fascination with those beasts is beyond her understanding, but he has looked at the board and worked out that a Targaryen without a dragon is nothing. Everybody around him treats that conclusion as an insecure boy's obsession, but it's a survival instinct, and it is completely correct. So what do they offer him instead? His mother holds him and tells him he will have a dragon one day. Soothing words, but nothing more. And Rhaenyra offers something even thinner.
If Syrax brings forth another clutch of eggs, your son, Aemond, will have his choice of them.
Think about what that offer really looks like. Lucerys is already flying. Aegon is already flying. The peace offering isn't a gift at all. It's a polite instruction to wait his turn for many years. And in between all of this, he trains. Every day, under Criston Cole, alongside the brother who mocked him and the nephews who laughed along. 6 years later, when we see Aemond as a young man, he is putting Sir Criston, one of the Kingsguard's most formidable fighters, on the back foot in the training yard. Ask yourself why. He's a prince of the blood. Sword work should be nothing more than window dressing for a boy of the royal line. Yet Aemond fights like a man who's been denied the real weapon and is building himself into the fiercest substitute possible. That's the whole architecture of Aemond. He has been shown the prize, mocked, and told to wait. The dragon on the beach. To understand what he does next, you need to understand what Vhagar actually is, because the show is methodical about this, and most viewers glide straight past it. Vhagar is not some big dragon. Vhagar is living history. She is the last living creature that fought in Aegon's conquest. She flew at the field of fire under Visenya Targaryen. She burned the Arryn fleet out of the waters off Gulltown. Then Visenya died, and Vhagar sat riderless for a generation, growing all the time. Balon the Brave rode her, and then died. She sat riderless again, still growing. Then Laena Velaryon claimed her, and by the time we meet Laena, Vhagar has grown too large for the dragon pit that houses every other dragon in the capital. She sleeps on the coast, alone, because there is nowhere that can hold her. The dragon keepers believe she's made her nest somewhere along the narrow sea, and Laena tells Viserys that the traders of Spicetown swear they hear her singing out there, and that it sounds like a sad song. The king wonders aloud whether dragons get lonely. Now here's what that scene is really telling you. The single most destructive weapon on the planet is lying unattended on a beach, and the people who own it are busy wondering if it's lonely. Nobody guards her, nobody claims her. She is just out there, 170 years of fire, asleep on the sand. And then Laena dies, and Vhagar becomes riderless once more. Laena Velaryon is laid to rest shortly after the court gathers at Driftmark. Her stone sarcophagus is committed to the sea according to Velaryon tradition, as her daughters watch from the shore. Rhaena, the one girl in this story with no dragon of her own, has just seen the largest dragon in the world become available. One she has a blood claim to, through its bond with her mother. She goes to bed. Aemond doesn't. The claiming. That night, Aemond walks out of high tide across the sand to the beast sleeping on the beach. At first, Vhagar ignores him. When he tries again to get her attention, she rounds on him with jaws open and fire in her throat, and this could very well have been the end of him. Instead, a boy who has been laughed at by every child in his family stands his ground and gives her a command in High Valyrian. Serve me, be calm, and she obeys. He climbs onto the largest living creature in the world, nearly falls to his death as she soars, and takes her up over Driftmark. Then Baela shakes Jacaerys awake, and the children come running.
Vhagar is my mother's dragon.
Your mother's dead. Vhagar has a new rider now.
She was mine to claim, Rhaena says, and Aemond gives her the truest line in the entire series by saying, "Then you should have claimed her." It's not a taunt, it's simply the way things work. There is no ceremony, no inheritance, no court of appeal. There is the dragon, and there is whoever is riding on its back. Rhaena had the birthright, but Aemond had the nerve. Everything after that, the fight, the rock, the blade, the eye, is noise. 4 of them come at him, and he is beating all 4. Rhaena on the ground, Baela struck down, Luke's nose broken, Jace with a rock to the head. It's Jace who pulls a knife. Aemond dodges it. Jace throws sand in his face. Luke picks the dropped blade up off the floor, and that is how Aemond loses an eye. He pays it as the price of the greatest theft in the history of the 7 kingdoms. Never saw it coming. And now we come to the moment this entire video has been building towards, the hall at high tide. Every powerful adult in Westeros in one room, staring at a bleeding boy. Watch what they argue about. Viserys wants apologies. He wants his family to hold hands and be pleasant to one another. He interrogates the children about who called who a bastard, while the key event of the night goes unmentioned. Alicent wants flesh. She looks at her son's face, and she demands the only justice she can conceive of.
There is a debt to be paid. I shall have one of her son's eyes in return.
An eye for an eye. Then she turns to the Kingsguard and tells Sir Criston to bring her the eye of Lucerys Velaryon. She takes her husband's dagger and goes for the children herself, and she cuts the heir to the throne open in front of the king, and even that is not the most significant thing that has happened in the last 12 hours. Because here is what nobody in that room says. The largest weapon in the world just changed sides. The greatest dragon alive has accepted Alicent's second son. The king says, apologize to each other. The queen says, give me an eye. Daemon Targaryen, the most dangerous man alive, who had watched his wife ride Vhagar for years and whose own daughter hoped to claim her, says nothing about it at all. Only one person in that hall states the actual result, and because he's a maimed child, everybody hears it as bravado. He tells his mother not to mourn him. He tells her it was a fair exchange, an eye for a dragon. He is not consoling her, he is reading out the score. He has just made the trade of the century, and they are all so busy looking at his face that they do not hear the transaction. What he actually took. 6 years later, Daemon stands over the painted table and counts 13 dragons to 4. 13 to 4, and the blacks still do not fly on King's Landing. Rhaenyra hesitates. The war stalls. Rhaenys warns of a conflict that will be savage beyond compare. Why? Because of one of those 4. Because in every calculation anyone makes for the rest of this story, there is a variable sitting on the other side of the board that cancels out numbers entirely, and she belongs to Aemond. Listen to how he talks once he has her. There is no anxiety left in him.
I'm next in line to the throne. Should they come looking for me, I intend to be found.
That is a boy who was mocked with a pig, telling the world that if they want the throne, they can come and find him. And when the war finally turns, and Rhaenyra puts new dragons in the sky, it is his sister, the one who told him as a child that he would have to close an eye, who diagnoses him in a single sentence. After he claimed Vhagar, he forgot what fear was. But he remembers now. He didn't just take any dragon that night. He took the one thing in Westeros that outranks a crown, a council, an army, and a birthright. Every plan the blacks make from that night forward has to be built around him, and every dragon they send up has to survive her. Luke dies in her jaws. Rhaenys and Meleys are burned out of the sky by her at Rook's Rest, and to this day, nobody in this story has found an answer to her. So the next time you watch Driftmark, ignore the knife, ignore the eye. Watch the beach. Watch a boy who was told to wait for an egg, walk out into the dark, and take the most powerful thing in the world, because he understood that nobody gives you a dragon. You climb on, or you get nothing. Now tell me who made the worst mistake. Was it Viserys? Was it Alicent? How about Daemon or Rhaenyra? Drop your answer in the comments, and if you want more of this, subscribe, because there are hidden turns like this running through every episode, and we'll be revealing all of them.